Well, hello BookTube, hello bookmarks and bookworms. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I filmed a YouTube video. I have been very busy over the last couple of months. So I started a new business, my very first business in fact, earlier on in 2024, and it really started taking off over the last couple of months with new clients and getting my website finished. So there's been lots to occupy myself with over the last couple of months, and it has been fantastic, a brilliant experience to kind of live and work how I always wanted to, which was for myself, having my own business around something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And so yeah, I will leave the link to my website in the description box below if you would like to see what I do for a living, what I've been doing for the last couple of months intensively, but for several years before this as well, because it's really exciting. I am so passionate about it. So the work that I do is called bodywork, and this is how this works is that because I live in Bali, I take clients online. So the majority of my clients don't live in Bali, they live all over the world. And so through online sessions, one-on-one online sessions typically, I take them through their lymphatic system. And if the lymphatic system is something that you haven't heard about before, it is a system of the body that, like every system in the body, works with all of the other systems in the body, right? They're all interconnected. So when we work with the lymphatic system, we also affect the immune system, we affect the respiratory system, we affect the nervous system. And so a lot of my clients, and the specific kind of signature program, if you like, that I've created is a 6-week course around stress and anxiety management. And so a lot of people are coming to me specifically for that, for the mental health side of the work that I do. So it does have, because it has implications and knock-on effects positively onto the immune system, I do also have a handful of clients who come for more autoimmune conditions and managing the complex and varied symptoms that come up with various different autoimmune diseases, just to have, basically to give them a better quality of life, to manage the symptoms that inevitably come up with those things. But I also have people coming to me for things like poor sleep that is due to respiratory issues and also nervous system issues. You know, if you're in this sympathetic fight and flight state, that is a very difficult state for the body to be able to calm down and then go to sleep with. So yeah, so a lot of nervous system work. So a lot of this is around breath. A lot of these sessions will include touching different places on your own body, which are lymphatic hubs, if you like, where the lymph nodes in your body kind of collect. And so moving and touching those places to get that lymphatic fluid moving is kind of what it's all about. And so there, as well as different things to do with work you can do with the nervous system and work you can do with organs. So there's lots of different aspects to body work. It also includes things like working with the eyes, working with the other senses. And so the scope is quite big, and so there is a range of people who come to me for a range of different things. I even have people coming for symptoms of old age, if you like. You know, you get out of bed and you can't move in the morning because your left shoulder is completely seized up, and it takes you a while to be able to get that shoulder moving because, you know, you're 60 years old, maybe you had a previous sports injury as kind of like a young man, and so it just takes a lot of effort to actually get some movement into parts of the body that don't move as well anymore as you age. So I have an array of ages as well, from kind of, as I say, 50, 60, 70-year-olds down to teenagers managing stress and anxiety around their exams, their schools. Their parents have approached me and signed them up for sessions with me. So I have and everyone in between, young women, young men managing in their 20s and 30s, various different really stressful times around there, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's moving house, relationships, like it is a very stressful, complex time, career moves, all of that sort of thing, pressures from work, pressures from family, pressures from mortgages. And so yeah, there are plenty of people, as I'm sure we all know out there, who are incredibly stressed, incredibly anxious, and are living in this constant state of sympathetic nervous system. And so a lot of the work I do is nervous system and lymphatic system related. All of that to say is a really long way of saying I've been very busy over the last couple of months, dealing with some wonderful new experiences and challenges and clients over the last couple of months, and so that has taken me away from BookTube for quite a considerable time. But I have an idea today to do the 100 essential novels. It's not quite a challenge, but there is a chart that I'll put up on the screen here. This is from PopChart, and there are 100 novels that are said to be essential, and I want to see how many I've read. Now, I don't think that I'm going to have read a lot of these, but I certainly have seen, just from the covers alone, that I have got quite a few. And promisingly, a lot of the ones that I have read already, spoiler alert, I've absolutely loved. So that only bodes well for the rest of this list in terms of me wanting to make my way through the rest of it over the course of my life, let's say. So as we go, please feel free to be making notes of which ones you've read, which ones you want to read, which ones you've never heard of, because there are plenty on this list that I have never heard of. And then you can leave me in the comments down below which ones you want to get to first, which ones you absolutely loved, which ones you would push into my hands, because I'm sure there are going to be plenty on this list that you've read and I haven't, and so I'm always up for taking more book recommendations. I just recently got my TBR on Goodreads under the 100 books mark, which I don't think has ever happened in my life, so I have plenty of space on my TBR shelves to be taking more book recommendations from you all. I got this video idea from Jack Edwards, so I will leave his original video linked in the description box as well if you would like to check that video out as well, which I highly recommend you do. And then now let's get into the 100. So all of these, I'm going to go from the top to the bottom, and they're in date order. So starting with the oldies, we're going to Don Quixote. I have not read this one. Robinson Crusoe, no, not read that either. Pride and Prejudice, now this is probably a controversial one, but no, I have not technically read Pride and Prejudice. I have watched it possibly hundreds of times, at least, maybe not hundreds of times, but hundreds of hours I have watched Pride and Prejudice. It's one of my feel-good, cozy movies that I return to time and time and time again with Keira Knightley. And so I feel like if I were to read this book, I would almost be able to lift scenes and even lines out of the movie that I can almost imagine. Like I've been in that scene, I've been in those words, I've heard those words over and over and over again, that I could almost guess what was coming in each chapter, in each part of each chapter, in each paragraph. And so I feel very intimately connected to this novel, despite having not technically read it yet. Next up is Frankenstein, and I have read this. I absolutely loved it. I read it as a GCSE text, and typically people don't tend to get on very well, I feel, with the GCSE texts that they're set as kind of older children / young adults, but I absolutely loved it. Really appreciated for what it was. I was very blessed with a super enthusiastic, wonderful English high school teacher, and she was by far my favourite teacher, and so her enthusiasm was just infused into everything we did, and a love of language and learning and books, and we had a word of the week, and there would always be these weird words that no one had ever heard of put on the board as our word of the week that we had to kind of like dot into conversations, and she was just wonderful. She's one of those teachers that you think, yes, that she is a fantastic teacher, because I still think of her years and years later, sort of thing. So next up is Jane Eyre. Yes, I have read this book. I read this book last year and absolutely loved it. It was a recommendation for me by a friend of mine, and he couldn't have been more right. This was a brilliant book. We were looking at it in terms of the hero's journey, and how perfectly, what a master Charlotte Bronte is as an author, and that she knew just all of the different elements that she had to have, and her portrayal of this woman, and how she just the whole thing, just even down to some of the contextual stuff of the time, where they're along she was capturing the real threat and the real fear that contemporary women at the time had in Cornwall, as the sort of pirate boats would be sweeping along the coast and taking women off to be slaves, never to be seen again by their families. And the more you dig in Jane Eyre, I feel like the more gems you find. So this is possibly one for me to revisit at a later date, but I digress massively. The next book on the list is Wuthering Heights, and I have not read this yet. I remember starting it and thinking it was a bit kind of dreary, but I think that's the point, so probably one for me to also revisit. Then we have The Scarlet Letter. No, I haven't read that. Moby Dick. No. Great Expectations. No. Crime and Punishment. No. Middlemarch. No. Anna Karenina. No. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. No. We're not doing very well here in this section of the chart. What else do we have here? The Red Badge of Courage. Haven't even heard of that. Heart of Darkness. No. A House of Mirth. No. The Good Soldier. No. The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. No. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. No. This is not going very well, and we're not even finished. There are still plenty of books on this list that I have not read. So we're going to A Passage to India. No, I haven't read that. An American Tragedy, The Great Gatsby, Mrs. Dalloway, The Sun Also Rises, The Bridge to San Luis Rey. Haven't even heard of that, and none of the books that I just listed I have read. So we're not doing very well in this section. This must indicate a period of time. So in this kind of 20 to 30, so line 2 and line 3 are representing a period of time that is just absent in my reading. But these are also very American heavy. This is a very American heavy list, so it's not, in some ways it's not surprising that I haven't read these classic pieces of American literature, because I feel like I may have read a few more of the English classics than I have the American classics. So let's keep going. Death Comes to the Archbishop. No. To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. No, I haven't actually read any Virginia Woolf, I don't think. I think I may have tried her writing, but haven't actually successfully finished any of them. The Maltese Falcon, The Sound and the Fury, Appointment in Samara, Tropic of Cancer, Gone with the Wind. Haven't read any of these, although Gone with the Wind I feel might be my thing, because it's kind of like a coming of age, romance-y type, so it focuses on a young woman. I feel like Gone with the Wind could be something that appeals to me. I need to look into that more. Their Eyes Were Watching God, The Death of the Heart, At Swim, Two Birds, The Big Sleep. Again, I have to say, a lot of these ones I haven't even heard of, let alone read. The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck I have heard of, but haven't read it. My brother has, though, and he hated it, so that's not exactly a glowing recommendation. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, Native Son, Animal Farm. Finally, I've read one. Right, Animal Farm I have read. This is another English literature set text for me from school, and I loved it. So this is another one. All the King's Men. No, I haven't read that. Under the Volcano. No. The Heart of the Matter. Oh, right, now we're into a bit more of a collection of books that I have read. So this clearly is my era. This line 4 and line 5 of this chart are good lines for me. I have quite a few in these next lines. Right, so here we go. 1984. Yes, I have read that and I loved it. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Yes, I've read it. I read it as a child/teen and I loved it. Then we have The Catcher in the Rye. I read this only a couple of years ago and absolutely loved this. Although I've heard that many people don't like The Catcher in the Rye, which baffles me. I feel like it's the perfect kind of really short character study. The guy who's the protagonist reminds me so much of the protagonist in The Secret History. This sort of young male angst, isolated, not fitting in, doesn't have a role model, male or female, to follow, and is kind of just adrift at sea, making mistakes, getting into trouble, all these things. I just feel like it's a really classic part of boyhood/manhood that is captured so well. I kind of feel like, how can you possibly hate this novel, and how can you possibly hate this protagonist? He's just such a lovable, you want to kind of like scoop him up and take care of him sort of thing. Yeah, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The writing, the characterization, I can almost hear his accent, this really thick New York accent in my head. Brilliant, I loved it. A Dance to the Music of Time, no, haven't read this. Invisible Man, no. The Adventures of Augie March, no. Go Tell It on the Mountain, no. Fahrenheit 451, yes, I read this, I loved it, I thought it was great. Probably one of my first dives into kind of this sort of dystopic, modern classic literature, and so yeah, that was a real win for me. I went on to then read other books of its ilk and hated them, so Fahrenheit 451 is clearly the one for me. The Lord of the Rings, no, I haven't read that. Under the Net, no. Lord of the Flies, yes, this is another piece of English literature set text from school, and I absolutely loved this one. I thought it was great. I still remember scenes from it, still remember analysing it, still remember loving it. And again, this is the same fantastic English teacher that I had for the other novel, which was I forget, Frankenstein, that was it. And so yeah, I love this one as well. Lolita, I haven't read this. The Recognitions, no. On the Road. On the Road by Jack Kerouac, I did try reading, but it just became so cringy and kind of disgusting that I had to put it down. So no, I did not get on with this. This is not the sort of young adult runaway angst that was appealing, because it just felt so navel gazy and oh yeah, lethargic. So going on to A Death in the Family, no, I haven't read that. Things Fall Apart, no. Naked Lunch. Rabbit Run. To Kill a Mockingbird, yes, I have read this and I loved it. I think I read this when I was in year 7 or 8, which for my American viewers is between the ages of 11 and 13. I really liked it. Catch 22, no, I haven't read that. A House for Mr. Biswas, no, I haven't read that. The Golden Notebook, no. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I have read that, I loved that, thought it was great. I have not watched the Netflix adaptation of this though, so if you have and you recommend it, then let me know. Sometimes these things do make the transition over to TV series really well, but sometimes they don't, so let me know. Then we have Pale Fire, I have not read this. A Clockwork Orange, now this is the first book that I have read that I haven't loved. I pretty much hated it. I think I read it after Fahrenheit 451 because it's in that same genre, that same ilk, that same time period. And they're often lumped together. Catch 22, Fahrenheit 451, A Clockwork Orange, and there's another one as well, Slaughterhouse 5. All of those are sort of lumped into this same category, I feel. But Clockwork Orange did not work for me at all, I didn't like it. The Painted Bird, no. The Crying of Lot 49, haven't heard of it, haven't read it. Wide Sargasso Sea, I haven't read that, but I believe it's like a prequel to Jane Eyre, so it's something that I should read because I loved Jane Eyre so much. We're into the last 25 books, so let's keep going. 100 Years of Solitude, no, I haven't read it. Slaughterhouse 5, no, I haven't read it. Deliverance, Play It As It Lays, Ragtime, If on a Winter's Night a Traveller, no. Midnight's Children, no. Money, Neuromancer, White Noise, Blood Meridian, The Handmaid's Tale, no. So I'm into another section. This kind of like lines 7 and 8 are not good sections for me. I haven't read a lot of them, so this time period again is a bit of a no man's zone right now in terms of my reading. The Handmaid's Tale is one that I feel like I should read because Margaret Atwood is a author that generally I really like. Okay, I'm back. Clearly my time off BookTube, I forgot the basics, which was make sure your microphone is charged before you start filming. So we're back. So I was talking to you about The Handmaid's Tale. Going on, we're into the final 15 books on this list. I have read a few of these last 15, so let's get into it. So first we have Beloved, haven't read it. Wittgenstein's Mistress, no. The Shipping News, Infinite Jest, American Pastoral, no. Then we have The God of Small Things, which I did read and I loved it. I read this before I started BookTube, so I haven't necessarily spoken about it a lot on BookTube, but this is a favourite book of mine. White Teeth, Middlesex, Gilead, The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, no, I haven't read any of those. Tree of Smoke, A Visit from the Goon Squad, The Round House, no, I haven't read any of those. And then the final 3, Ending Things on a High, I have read all 3 of these and loved all 3 of these. These are Underground Railroad, Lincoln in the Bardo, and Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. So, coming to the end of that list, as I say, 14 out of the 15 books I have read and absolutely loved them. Of the 85 remaining, I actually went on to sample 11, and the 11 that I chose to sample that I was most interested in reading were The Sun Also Rises, The Bridge of San Luis Rey, Death Comes to the Archbishop, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, The Death of the Heart, Gone with the Wind, All the King's Men, The Heart of the Matter, White Noise, The Handmaid's Tale, and The Shipping News. So of those 11 samples, I really enjoyed 7. So over the next 12 months, my plan is to work my way through my top 7 from my experience of sampling these novels. So number 1 is Pride and Prejudice. I loved the sample. Some of the scenes in this first 10% were as if they were lifted from the novel. I could almost dictate it to you right now. Mrs. Bennet saying, "Do you have no feeling for my poor nerves?" And then Mr. Bennet replying, "No, of course, my dear, I have nothing but great respect for your nerves. They've been my constant companion for the last 30 years. Things like that. So I cannot wait to dive into this book, but in novel form, dive into this story. Then I really loved the sample of Middlesex by Geoffrey Eugenides. This is an epic family saga that explores gender identity and the immigrant experience through the life of an intersex protagonist, and it was the writing of this that really wowed me. Sometimes you just get a feeling for the writing itself and know that you're going to be sucked into this protagonist's life and world through such an eloquently told tale, and this I feel is going to be Middlesex. The third one is Gilead. This is by Marilyn Robinson. A reflective spiritual narrative from an elderly preacher in a dystopian future grappling with his past and legacy. And this is not the only dystopian on this list. So I do typically like dystopians, but I read very few of them. So this is, I guess, pushing out of my literary fiction comfort zone, I guess, in that sense. So the next one I absolutely loved the sample of was Graham Greene's The Heart of the Matter. This is about a police officer serving in a wartime West African state. He is immune to bribery and therefore he is mistrusted because that is not the norm at this time and in this place. Until he falls in love, and in doing so is forced to portray what he believes in. So this just sounds completely delectable. I cannot wait. With its setting and with its writing, this is also giving off kind of Damon Galgut vibes, which he's a favourite author of mine, so I'm really hoping for good things all round on this one. The next one is Gone with the Wind. I haven't read the book nor watched the film adaptation of this, but I know that this is set in the South during the American Civil War. We're following a young woman / girl as she comes of age in the American South. It's about love, with that kind of contextual backdrop of the American Civil War in the South. And it's going to be quite long, I think. This is a bit of an epic saga, I think, spanning almost 1,000 pages. So Scarlett O'Hara is the daughter of a plantation owner, and I found it quite funny that apparently in 2014 there was a poll that the results of which were that Gone with the Wind was America's second favourite book, second only to the Bible. So that just tickled me, that fact, somehow. I thought that was funny. This also received the Pulitzer the year it was released, and so yeah, I feel like I might be in for a treat with this novel, and I want to see why it is America's second favourite book. Into the final 2 then. The next one is White Noise. This has been recently adapted into a Netflix film, so I guess I can watch that after I've read this. This is about the life of Jack Gladney, who created the Hitler studies. A chemical spill forces him to confront his own mortality. I would never naturally gravitate towards a book like this. This does not necessarily capture my interest on that blurb alone, but it was the writing of this that really sold it to me. I felt really immersed in this, and I am ready to continue with this one and give it a shot. And the last one is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. It was the writing of this. I really love her writing, and it was the writing of this, reading the sample, where I could almost match the piece of writing to the author. If you didn't tell me this was Margaret Atwood, I feel like I could guess from her prose alone. It was so enjoyable, and so despite having mixed feelings around the TV series when I watched it, I feel like I want to dive into this novel, and I have a slight suspicion that I'm going to really enjoy it. So as I mentioned at the start, I feel this is a very American-centric list. I'm sure there are more comprehensive lists of 100 books out there, but I thought it would just be a fun exercise today to go through this with you. As I say, do let me know which books you've read, which books you're going to head to, which ones you would push into my hands first. Also, a quick announcement at the end of this video today that I have launched a Patreon. I already have a coffee membership, but there have been a couple of people saying, can you launch a Patreon as well, just so that all of your memberships to all of your different creators are all on the same app. So I'm now a part of that. It's my same 2 tiers. There is a £5 a month tier for 2 extra videos a month, and there is a £10 tier for those 2 extra videos, and also access to the book club that I run every single month. So if you are a coffee member and want to transition over to Patreon, you can do so. If you want to stay as a coffee member, you absolutely can. I'm going to run both side by side. So yeah, there's no urgency to kind of switch over. Just if you want to stay on the coffee platform because you enjoy the coffee platform, then do so. And equally, if you are interested in becoming a member and would prefer Patreon to coffee, that is now available to you. So I shall link that in the description box below if you'd like to sign up for that. Also, one final mention to my bodywork website that I will leave linked down below. Even if you don't necessarily struggle with stress, anxiety, mental health, that sort of thing, we all know somebody who does, and so definitely send this around, share this around as somebody who is a very small business owner. And if you are a small business owner, you know the power of networking and sharing things and making sure that as many people as possible know who you are, what you offer. And so that is what I'm doing at the moment, trying to put my name out of there, put the word around of what I'm offering and how I can be of use and help. So yeah, do use that link as much or as little as you would like for yourself, friends and families, maybe your colleagues. I've had several referrals just through people discussing it at work. They go in, they discuss it at work, and I get their colleagues coming to me for bodywork sessions. So as I say, it's all done online, and it's generally one-to-one. So do get in touch if you feel like it is an appropriate thing for you that you want to learn more about. Book a session and then see how it can apply to you. I'll introduce you to bodywork, what it's all about. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to give it a like if you did. Subscribe to my channel, please, if you are new. That really helps out this channel for the algorithm and just would make my day. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Lovely to be back on YouTube, and there will be a video very soon. Bye.